For 4 days, 300 souls lived inside a bubble of music and connection. It was called the Jacob Collier Hideaway. It was a truly transformational experience, a place where everyone embraced exploration, openness, and curiosity. But what happens when you leave this bubble? When you're scattered back to your own corner of the world? For me, the experience was too meaningful to let it fade into a distant memory. So this podcast is my anchor, a space to share who you are, stories, inspiration, creative aspirations, and struggles. These are Hideaway Stories. And to begin each episode, I asked every guest to bring a song, a sound, a jingle that is meaningful to them, that inspired them. And this is the sound for my next guest. Okay. Is it when the arpeggio starts, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, nice. I like it.
Awesome.
So yeah, please. I now I'm actually very interested into listening more, but I'll do that later then.
Sounds good.
Tell me about this sound.
Yeah, for sure.
Why this? Why did you choose this?
Yeah, so a little bit of context. When I was in high school, there's this really popular piano song. It was called River Flows in You by Yurima. He's a Korean sort of new age classical pianist that kind of went like this. It was a melody that people basically, like, if they knew any ounce of piano skills, at least in my school, they would just play it. And it was just so catchy. And it got to the point where people hated it because, it was played so much. But that was a musician that I just thought, wow, this musician does such beautiful melodies. Let me hear more of his music. So I went down like a Unima rabbit hole, and I found the song that we just listened to. And when I first heard it, I had to do sort of a double take because the melody is simply going down a major scale. So a major scale would be something like this. And the melody that he composed is just this. And that's like almost the most simple thing you can come up with, right? Because the only thing simpler than that is just simply going down the scale. But he repeats two of those notes. Or three of those notes. So I thought to myself, how could it be so simple, but also like it made me feel so nostalgic, so melancholic, and it gave me like an emotional response. And when I asked myself that question, I would say that this song is actually what got me into making my own music. Because I was like, if something could be so simple, but the way that he plays it, or the way that he just put a slight changes to it, maybe the way that how fast the notes are played, the rhythms, or just like little differences in how he stretches time, how he arranges the left hand. Just a simple melody with subtle changes can have such a big impact. So
how long ago was that? How old were you when you listened to this first time?
I'd say probably like 13, 12,
When,
13, 14.
and did it move you immediately? Like the first time you heard it?
Yeah. It was like, it was almost as if I heard this before. And I think that was kind of part of the point of like, it's so simple because it's so used everywhere, but there was just a slight difference in it that made it so intriguing and made it sort of Yurima's piece and not someone else's piece. So I was so intrigued by that. So I tried to recreate it myself, and I tried changing a note from his composition, and then I started just naturally making it my own as well. And So I would say that this song means a lot to me because it taught me how unoriginal everything was, but in like the most beautiful way. And it gave me courage to, compose myself. So yeah.
So, is there still traces of that left in your compositions? Like, do you um, actively try to make it as you say, how did you put it? It's so simple but original at the same time.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you stand like, is this your way of making music?
I think it is, yeah, because the way that Unima really like impacted people was the fact that he made melodies that were so beautiful, but at the same time so recognizable. And so like it kind of touches a part of you that you knew was always there. So when I make music, like I try to come up with melodies that I feel have that same quality. So, for example, a lot of my songs have this three-note combo that I really love. So I have like these melodic motifs. So, for example, this is something that I really like. Just those three notes. They're part of a thing called the pentatonic scale, which is a widely used scale. But just that little melody, I'm hoping you already have like some thoughts about like, oh, maybe I've heard that somewhere before, right? Whether that's in like a movie soundtrack or a song, or like, it can be in different genres as well. But for me personally, I have used that motif in a film soundtrack that I've composed, as well as um, like songs that I've written about love, and like, indie pop that I've produced. So yeah, I try to be in tune with like melodies that can connect people, but at the same time have like my own personal element to it.
How do you do that? I mean, it's almost a paradox, right?
Hmm.
Like having something that sounds familiar and is quite minimal and
Yeah.
repeated. I mean, if you say it's in some form or another, it is part of your way of making music. How do you still make it you? Like, how
Hmm.
can you, what do you add to it that it's you? Can you,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a strange question. Can you
No,
understand?
this is a great question, and I ask myself that every day because
Yeah, yeah,
someone at my current sort of stage in my artistry and musicianship, I've recently been really reflecting on like what makes my music sound like me, and uh, I guess I'll allude to something that I think one of the faculty members, David, at the Jacob Collier retreat that we went to, talked about,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is about how everyone has their own circuitry, and that circuitry is made partially by what gets inputted to the circuitry. It's partially made by what the circuitry is grounded by, what fuels it, and also, the process of rearranging certain circuits within that system. So for me, I think of it as like um, my unique sound comes from the combination of all the influences that I've had, and more specifically, the things that I emotionally respond to. So for me, I love the simpleness, but also the beauty of someone like Yurema's music. And at around the same time, I discovered jazz because in high school, I wanted to play drum set, and the only class that would allow me to play drum set was jazz band. And I had known nothing about jazz, but I enrolled and spent like the summer learning how to play a swing beat, like ding 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 ding. And then there I was in jazz band, learning about improvisation. I was like, wow, what is improvisation, and how does that work? And so while I was learning that, I was also listening to Yurema's music. And I then started to learn how to improvise music that was like Yurema's music. And then I dug into Yurema's music more and realized that he's actually very jazz influenced. He has a cover of Autumn Leaves, which I love, by the way, um, which is very like classically inspired as well. So he has that classical side, which is actually my background before jazz, and then also inspired by jazz, which now I'm discovering as well. And so, like, I think over time I've started to map my influences to like what emotionally I respond to, and then at the same time I uncover new influences that I realize are related to the influences that I responded to. And so like my influences expand in that way. And I feel like my brain just has a connection of everything that I, possibly like respond to emotionally. And that kind of helps then with my artistic decisions. And then I guess more practically, that means like breaking down like melodies that I really like, analyzing, artists and songs that really resonate with me, and then asking myself questions about that. It's like instead of doing, can I repeat other notes in that scale? Right? Maybe I can do. I don't know, so it's like experimenting with just permutations of what you're inspired by based on your other inspirations can kind of lead you down a path that no one else has gone down before. And so I'm still actively exploring that of like how to find my own voice in that manner. But yeah, a lot of it is like just being very grounded in what you're inspired by, and being random, but within a space of like, this is what I respond to, this is what I like, and this is like what makes me me.
I have to reference this. The more you play it, the more it reminds me of the fourth sentence. Is that an English word? Of the Beethoven, the Ninth Symphony, the
Oh,
fourth
cool.
part.
Yeah.
What's it called? The fourth act? No, the fourth.
I'm blanking on the word as well.
Yeah, it's the fourth part of the Freude schöner Götterfunken, Tochter aus Elysium.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
quite similar the way it goes down, and like it's also very much like, to me it feels like breathing a bit.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
definitely.
goes up,
Yeah.
breathing in, goes down, breathing out.
Hmm. Yeah, phrasing is huge. And I think, the things that make melodies melodies is the phrasing of them. Um, and that relates a lot to like how we speak as well. So I think, your insight is like really, really deep there, where like the way that I speak probably influences the way that I think of melodies as well. So yeah.
Um, yeah, let's see if I can pick it up later. But let's start actually introducing you, because we've
I
already been sidetracked into this beautiful
love it.
melody, and so tell me your name and where you
Sure.
live currently, and yeah, what's your current, where are you in life? Also, do you make money making music? Like, is this your living, or do you study? Like, what's your current state?
Sure. Yeah. So a quick kind of background about me. My name, or my artist name, is Joyang, and I've been making music independently since actually 2020, so since the pandemic. And my background is basically, I grew up playing music all my life. I did classical piano and then transitioned into jazz piano and jazz drums. Learned how to produce in college. So I went to college for computer science and music. They were separate, but I tried to combine them together as well. Separate story on that. And yeah, so I started producing while I was in college. And then after graduating, I took a job in big tech. So I'm a software engineer by day. And that's kind of what funds my music endeavors. And I've been sort of producing, writing my own music for the past, I guess, 5 years now. But the past like 2 or 3 years, I've been like taking it more seriously, whatever that means. Just trying to, think about what I really want to do with my music. I've mainly created music just for myself throughout my life, but I started to really realize like what music can do for others and how it can be used as a bridge to like connect other people together. So I've been diving deep into, what it means to be an indie musician, how to improve as a musician while you're kind of like isolated from the industry, just like kind of in my bedroom studio in my own time. And yeah, how to find like people that inspire you, whether it's like in person interactions, online interactions, or simply just listening to a record, and yeah, just navigating all of that and telling my own story. Oh, and I'm based in Bay Area.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So let me think about this question because I actually am. There were so many things that you said that I want to explore. Um, Actually, let's start with the computer science part
Yeah.
because how do you want to combine music and computer science? That sounds very paradoxical in the first second, but
Sure.
maybe what's your insight on that?
Yeah. So I've had an interesting relationship between exploring that. I would say this started kind of in high school when I took a video game programming class in high school. And it was like basically my favorite class, besides jazz band, but it was my favorite class because I got to like make my own world. And coding made me realize that like I just love building things and I love creating worlds that people can be a part of. And when I realized I can do that with code, and I realized the power of coding, the power of the leverage of being able to just code something once and then have that spread across the internet and people can like copy it, download it, be a part of it, log in, right? And be on a server with other people, exploring experiences together. That really hooked me in. It made me feel kind of like a god complex of like, oh, I could build my own world and design it however I want. And so that's kind of initially what got me into coding. And then I started
And
realizing that
just to clarify, you mean coding music or coding in a sense a game, or
a
what do
game,
you mean?
yeah,
A
video
game,
games.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, I was like coding video games. I explored with coding apps as well. So I coded an excuse generator where you just press a button and an excuse pops up.
Oh, that's funny. That's
um,
funny.
so just like random stuff like that,
That was
tinkering
before
around.
AI, I guess.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And then actually, the first thing I did to combine music and tech was I created a melody generator. Funny enough, since we're
Hmm.
talking about melodies,
Hmm.
and it was very simple. It just randomly picks some notes from a scale. You can choose the number of notes. You can choose. I think it was only major scale at the time, but you can choose like what key and stuff, and then it would play it, and that kind of like set off something in me to be like, oh, maybe I can combine my passions with music and tech. And at the time, I had known someone from my choir who studied the art of sonification, which is basically turning data into sound. Because when we look at data, it's like usually visual, it's a graph, right? But what if you can hear data? Would you be able to hear things that you wouldn't be able to see on a graph? And how would you even translate numbers into sound? So luckily this dude was like working on this for his research, and I was just like, hey, can you teach me everything you know about like sound design and like how to translate data into sound and how sound could be useful. So I would say that was my first like serious foray into like combining the two disciplines. And what I got from that was I think there's just so much breadth in what you can do in music and also so much breadth in what you can do in tech. And I found that even though I had a lot of fun like designing how to, I was working with actually climate change data and I wanted people to hear the alarming effects of climate change. So,
Oh, wow.
as global temperatures rose, I just coded, sounds to be like really piercing and then just like faster and faster and pulsating. um, I thought that was really cool intellectually. Creatively, that didn't fulfill me.
Hmm.
What fulfilled
Hmm.
me more was improvising on a jazz tune. So I started to learn, like, okay, so maybe there's certain things that intellectually I would love to create, but also there's certain things that emotionally fulfill me. Sorry, I'm getting a spam call. So I think with that separation in mind, I started to look at like combining the disciplines a little differently, um, where like even within my like coding experience, sometimes I code as a way to express myself, and other times I code as a way to make something useful or do an intellectual exercise for fun. And I've come to the point where right now I think I like to make music in a way that's handmade, and perhaps like almost like in my own music making process, I'm almost like, how can I get it as raw as possible? Because that's what I'm curious by. That's what emotionally drives me in the music. And then on the tech side of things,
Sorry, can I dig into this? Because what do you
yeah,
mean as raw as possible? Like, do you mean unprocessed, like you put it into some recording software? I saw you use Logic.
mhm.
You just put it into Logic and not process it much. You mean that as raw as possible, or do you mean the emotional part? Like, what do you mean as raw as possible?
Yeah. So thanks for asking that question, because I think there's a lot to clarify there. From the framework of the previous question that you were asking, I was thinking about raw in the terms of like how much of it is generated by me and my
Ah,
own
okay.
artistic decision.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
going into computer science slash music, like there's a lot of research being done and a lot of sort of intellectual curiosity in things like algorithmic music or music that's generated by something that is not simply just my fingers or my voice. um AI generated music is a huge thing, right?
Of course.
And so there's all these things where the computer helps in the decision making process. And for me, raw simply means that like I'm kind of making human decisions. So I may add a reverb plugin, but that's because I want to, not because an
Yeah, yeah,
algorithm
yeah,
naturally arrived at that state
yeah,
based on parameters that I set. Of course, it's not a fine line because
yeah.
there's a lot of things like autotune, for example, that are based on algorithms. Um, but yeah, I just love the idea behind like me coming up with a guitar part and recording it and having that be the centerpiece of a song versus me coming up with a, I don't know, geometric algorithm of some sort, and then that's the centerpiece of how the song unfolds. So I
Yeah.
think that's the distinction for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's I love that actually because to me it feels like relying on. I mean, it also has to do with how much talent do you actually have as a musician, of course, right? I mean, can you actually put? Are you skilled enough so that you can put your ambition into reality? Because for example, I'm not able. I wouldn't be able to do that. I have to rely on other means.
Well, we all do, right? Like even when I say raw, it's like I'm still, quantizing, I'm still adding autotune sometimes, and
Yeah,
yeah.
but still, I feel that is what is very much what listeners also used to want. I don't
Mm,
know if it will change. I'm actually quite. I'm watching it. I'm very much looking into it. Like, is it really a thing that AI music people will listen to it? Like, they don't care if it's AI made.
mhm,
At the same time, I think this will prevail, right? I mean,
yeah.
that is there is something inherently connecting from the musician to the listener when you know it's been made by a human and by
Yeah.
this raw emotional ambition that is in there.
Definitely.
But I would love to. I think you weren't finished with the computer part, so I don't, because I already have questions. But I want to let you finish for this computer part. I
Sure,
interrupted
yeah.
you.
I don't think I had much to say about it besides the fact that like, yeah, nowadays I think of a lot of my sort of computer science endeavors, including my day job, as more of ways for me to develop my skills, such that, if there's anything that I'm passionate about or a problem that I really want to solve, I can use my skill set to help solve it. So, an example might be I was just watching a video yesterday about how a lot of indie artists have trouble verifying their own identity online. So, what that means is scammers can impersonate indie artists and basically make Spotify take down their entire profiles because they're
Oh
like,
yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah,
like there's people, impersonating you. And I was
yeah,
like, this is totally a problem you could solve with tech. So, I think of sort of my place in tech as building tools that are helpful for people who want to be creative just like me. Yeah.
That's great. So, what is your measurement for, or let me make it even broader? Broader. What is your goal with music? Like, where are you striving to go?
Yeah. So I've kind of had like different versions of these over the years, but right now I would say that my goal is to be able to make a full-time income with music. Um, and that would be sort of like the surface level goal. But the deeper level goal to that is, because money is kind of how we measure value these days. The actual value of it that I want to deliver is I want to deliver a space that makes people feel like they can enter a cinematic home when they listen to my songs. And I want that to help heal them. I want that to help them see themselves a little bit more in terms of like how they actually feel, what they actually want to express. And I also wanted to like challenge them a little bit to be like, hey, if your life was a movie and you're in this kind of rut or you're in this state of distress or pain or grief, like what would you do as the main character of your own story? So that part I'm trying to explore more in my music, where it's like, how can I, be a little bit more experimental, and how can I explore challenging myself within my music while also keeping that sense of comfort and that sense of home. So I'm actively exploring that, and that is one of my biggest goals, to be able to express that to other people as well.
So let's stay there for a second before, because I really want to ask you about full-time income as well.
Yeah.
But cinematic home, I think that's a very interesting expression. I actually didn't hear it so far. I'm not sure if it's something that you came up with, but so how can I interpret that? For me, if I hear the word cinematic home, I see something. I think about story. I think about visuals. When I listen to your music, I should have some, almost like a visual story that's coming up. Is that what you mean, or is it something different?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's pretty much touching up on the idea that it makes it feel like an entire experience rather than just, sound waves or a song. For me, it's also a sense of life from the lens of a camera, being told by a director instead of just watching natural events happen to someone. Um, it's
So
the
does that
idea.
mean you're also exploring like protagonist kind of stories that are not completely like real life that you experienced, but you're more
Yeah, and I
putting
would
yourself
argue.
into shoes of others, or
So I think that is one part of my songwriting. I would also argue that every songwriter does that, right, to some degree.
of course.
So for me, it's the reason why I use the word cinematic is because I want to create an environment in which people feel um, like this feeling where you've just watched a movie that is like absolutely incredible and it has a profound impact on you,
Of course,
and then
of
it makes
course.
you see your own life differently after, right? uh, I I want
Yeah,
to give people
yeah.
that sort of feeling of like, wow, I can apply something that I experienced that is technically not real or like fabricated, like a story or something that was filmed on a camera, and maybe the lead actors are not actually like dating in real life. Um, but I can apply that feeling and that emotion that I got to my own life and almost take ownership of my own story as if it were a movie. Um, so I think that's kind of the feeling that I want to evoke when I say cinematic home. It's home is the part where like I love giving people a sense of comfort and a sense of safety. And then the cinematic part is like I want your life to be absolute cinema. That doesn't mean like it should be chaotic with like a whole bunch of ups and downs. My life is actually not like that, but it means more like, you know, starting to think of your life as oh, is my life like a slice of life movie? Or is it a comedy? Is it a tragedy? Like, is it from rags to riches? Is it, you know, a rebirth of some sort where like I've spent the first 50 years of my life doing this and now I'm pivoting and doing this other thing that's completely changed who I am. Starting to think about life as a story unfolding is something that I'm really interested in. And I think music is my way of expressing that for myself.
So how do you think about this when it comes to it's I have so many directions every time you say something.
That's great.
Let me just unfold what I'm thinking about, and then you just do whatever you want with it, okay?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there is the situation that we're currently talking about music that is getting shorter and shorter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I feel that telling a story and getting into the cinematic home that you're trying to do is almost contrary to what the current music industry is heading towards.
Sure.
Also, it's getting even worse when you talk about the mandatory, it feels like very mandatory TikToks and Instagrams and reels and stories that you have to produce, which are even shorter.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to find something where people feel home in a 20-second clip, I'm not sure how you deal with this. And the last part is, I mean, I have to actually talk about the Hideaway for a second.
Oh yeah, of course.
With Jacob's album that he played exclusively, like for the first time, the new album. And I realized when listening through it from first second to really consciously and in a group environment, to listen to an album from the first second to the last, uninterrupted, like without screen, without like my mind wandering. That's something that it's been really rare, and it's getting rarer the minute, like the older I get. I think I did that more when I was younger. So albums, what I'm trying to say is albums is also not a thing anymore, really. Like,
yeah,
it
like
is a
nobody
thing
listens
for bigger artists, like, oh, they have a new album, let's listen to it. But especially for, I think, smaller artists, album is, I don't think it's a concept that currently is something that people get or people dig. So that is what has been going on in my head, and now I'm
Sure.
giving this back to you, and like, what do you want to do with it?
Of course, yeah. See, this is why I love improvising, you know. We can go so many directions, but yeah, to your first question about, you know, things getting shorter and things being harder to communicate in that short amount of time, my main mindset on that is I treat it as a challenge. You know, in every sort of musical era, there's been challenges, right? I heard from, I think it was, who was it? I think it was Loewe's interview once. She's a Icelandic Chinese artist that I really am inspired by. She said her grandma couldn't play like,
Can you sorry, can you give the letters, like how is it spelled?
oh yeah, it's Laufey. I'm not even
Okay.
sure if I pronounce it properly, but yeah, she's one of my favorite artists. And she mentioned how her grandma was like a classical musician and played Western music. I think this is her. Okay, I could be wrong. It could be a different artist, but it was some artist. And because of the Cultural Revolution in China, she was like, yeah, she could not play that Western music, right? Because it was against the political agenda of the Cultural Revolution. So she actually had to, you know, just stop playing like the music that she wanted to play and the music that she wanted to express herself with. And I think, as crappy as that is also cinema, right? A big part of cinema is like what challenges are you facing and how do you overcome those challenges. So I personally, like, you know, follow and know some creators who I definitely feel like give off a really cinematic vibe without needing to have like a super huge storyline that spans like hours in, say, like a movie or something like that. And I think something related to that is I've also heard that especially with Gen Z audiences, they're less looking for a story with a beginning, middle, and end, and they're more looking for a vibe that they relate to, whether that be in the visuals or in the way that someone speaks, or just someone's sense of fashion, or what filters they're using, or what camera angles there are. Like, for example, a simple practical way to make your short videos more cinematic is just film in different angles, because then the person watching that will kind of be transported more into that world, versus if it's just one angle. Actually, I need to take that tip more. But so there's those challenges of every era. And I think for this era, the challenge is, how do you make short form content that sucks people into your world enough such that they are motivated to explore the more long form content? Saying about like going, from start to end an album, right? And so that leads me to what I would say about your second question, which is, I believe that we're in the age of super fans. We're in the age of musicians being able to make a living off of a really dedicated core group of people who the algorithm will always sort of push this artist to. Or even like, they sign up for their mailing list so that they don't need the algorithm to reach those fans. And I think that when I say one of my goals is to make a full-time income from music, what that translates to is I would love to be able to build a community of folks who, if I did release an album, would want to listen to it from start to finish. I know that, us in the room at the Hideaway retreat, we were really, really excited to listen to Jacob's songs. But there's also a lot more people who, in the comfort of their own home, when that body of work comes out, I think would also listen to it from start to finish. It's just that the percentage of people who would passively listen to his music has increased a lot as well. So, yeah.
So it's the idea of I think Kevin Kelly is the 1,000 true fans, right? I mean, that's the idea. And so what? Because you already conveniently segued into this into this topic, where you currently, like, as much as you want to share, but where you currently when making a full-time living on it, and what do you feel is the way of getting there the best? Like, what do you feel like? Because I mean, sales is a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to do sales. Then there's live performances, which usually is where people are making money currently. So what do you feel about this?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I'll put on my business cap real quick.
Yeah, I
And
think, I mean, that's also, I mean, that's what musicians are currently struggling with, right? So
yeah,
I feel
the
that to
business
get
side.
input and like to have ideas about this, I think it's quite helpful.
Cool. Yeah. So definitely like happy to share sort of what my thinking process is, and how I think about music as a potential business, as someone who's actively trying to figure it out. There's a couple things that I would say. The first is I always start by, when I think about like how do I make income from this, like it's not starting from like how can I make money. For me, in my current situation, I'm able to fund my music endeavors through my day job, so I'm already able to like create my product per se, without needing to like think about how do I make money out of this. So the way that I think about it instead is, how much am I spending and how much am I making back? So I'm budgeting like all of my expenses and all the potential money that I get back. And for, decades, forever, like this has always been a pattern where a musician starting out would probably lose more money from the get-go, right? This is why record label deals happen. It's because the record label believes that the musician will recoup back all that costs in the future. So I think one pitfall that I personally don't want to fall into is wanting to figure out how to earn money from my music before it's even deserving of that. And I'm not saying it as in the music itself, but just in terms of like the business, right? Um, so even in tech, there's a lot of businesses that have had a lot of investment but haven't been profitable for a while, and then eventually they reach profitability. So I think that's the first thing that I would say is like I'm not too focused on the making money aspect of it right now. I'm more focused on what are my costs and then what do I see are potential pathways to recoup that cost. Um, and yeah, I guess in a way I'm also, oh, that's cool. I got the thumbs up on the video. Um, in a way, I'm also thinking about like how can I keep costs minimal. So this is something I struggle with because my artistic mind is like, oh, I want like a string quartet on the song, and I want like
Of
live
course.
drums, and
Of course.
I want my favorite bass player on this.
Yeah.
But my music business mind is like, how can I still make the same impact, but in a way that is cost effective without sacrificing my artistic integrity? And so sometimes I twist my brain to think about it as like, what are my limitations and how can I work within them? So as a result, I currently self-produce my music. Um, I've worked with mixers and masters before, but I'm also like self-mixing, self-mastering currently. And I'm doing this partly because I really like doing the mixing and mastering myself as well. It's like a fun thing to tinker around. Maybe it's my engineering brain. But I would hope that if I'm able to, be able to recoup more costs in the future and to make money doing this, then my business mind will be like, okay, now that like there's more money coming in, like you can start to reinvest that and get a better mixing engineer and work with a team and things like that. But for me, it's always about like how do we start small, start lean, have minimal financial risk, given my day job as well, which helps like infinitely with that, and then scale from there. So yeah, I'm all about like being scrappy and being lean, and maybe that's because I'm surrounded by tech startup culture, but um, it's hard sometimes to balance that with the artistic side as well, where I just want to explore endlessly. Um, but yeah, and then in terms of like making money, like how to make money, I personally don't see myself being like a touring musician. I actually love to have stability in my life, and I want to really value stuff like spending time with family in the future. So that's also why my main focus has been how do you build community online and how do you impact people through the internet. One of my major focuses is like reach through streaming, which I know is a coveted topic, but yeah, I'd say that's kind of like where my head's at.
So, have you found some sort of success in this regard? Like, have you found an avenue where you feel that, oh, this looks promising, like, this is
Hmm.
something that might work, especially when you're more or less like putting the touring part of it a bit like on the sidelines?
Mhm.
Where do you feel it could be a good idea to look towards? Like,
Yeah,
what
so
income stream?
right. So my current idea is, first of all, like with any sort of modern indie creator, the safest business is one that has like multiple income streams, in my opinion. I think, some people may think differently, but for me, it's like if one income stream goes out, you still have some others you can rely on. So, my main goal right now is reach and impact, and then how do I convert that into monetary value afterwards? Um, and I think there's a couple things that come to mind. Like one is like fan memberships, so like Patreon, Discord, things like that. I haven't found any success in that because I haven't tried it myself yet. I feel like personally, I want to reach a certain level of impact and influence, such that communities like that can really thrive. And I don't think I'm there yet. I think I want to focus more on the music currently. Um, And then another possible income stream is actually working with other musicians, producing for other musicians. And this is something I've haven't dabbled in as much because I've been mainly focusing on producing for myself, but I would love to get the opportunity to work with other musicians and help them craft their sound as well, whether that be musicians signed to a record label or indie musicians. That's another thing that I love. And actually, the most successful monetary income stream that I've had so far with music is teaching music production. So I love teaching, and I've taught like data structures and algorithms in college. I've taught tennis when I was in high school. I've taught piano lessons. I've
Yeah.
just like taught a breadth of things, and um, yeah, one of my college friends reached out to me about this 10-year-old kid who wants to learn how to produce. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. When I was 10, like I was, playing video games. So I've been teaching him like things in Logic, and which is a digital audio workstation where you can, use to produce music. And yeah, it's been so fun just watching him grow and helping him develop his artistic voice through his production choices, and teaching him things like, reverb, compression, automation, arranging, key changes, phrasing, rhythms, like using loops and samples. So yeah, that's actually been really fun, and I could see myself, maybe building online courses or doing online learning communities related to music, maybe songwriting, producing, being an indie musician. But I caution myself against doing that too soon, just because I really want to build up my own skill set and my influence in a way where, I really have the experience to back up what I want to teach other people. So, yeah, don't want to be one of those like scam artists. You know what I'm saying?
I
But
know
yeah,
what you mean. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I mean, what I hear sometimes is also like templates and loops and all of these things, like
yes.
sound packages, samples, all of these things.
Mhm.
You didn't mention that, so I guess it's not so much into your area. Like,
Yeah, it's just more of like I personally don't use much samples, so it's hard for me to like empathize with how much value I can generate by creating samples.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I definitely see that as like a really great revenue stream for a lot of producers.
yeah. So, what would you say? I mean, maybe it's just me. I mean, also I make music, but I'm more or less only making electronic music like
Yeah,
house, and I'm less into this. Yeah, yeah, techno, dubstep, drum and bass, like all of
that's
these
cool.
things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And to me, it never occurred to really. I was never brave enough to actually try to make a living from it.
Mm,
So it has to do with, and that's leading into a question. I'm not rambling here. It has to do with that. I feel there's so much struggle. There's so much frustration. There is so much also fears that are attached to it. Like
yeah,
starting with the fear of, is anyone even listening? Like,
mm,
is this even good?
mm,
Is is it attached to my worthiness as a human being? Because I
yeah,
identify, of course, with my music and all of these things. When I was younger, I didn't know that this was a struggle that I had within
mm,
me
mm.
as a conscious thought. It was more like I can now, looking back to it, really see how it hindered me, like
Sure, yeah,
how it didn't, how it made me not succeed, like try to succeed.
mm,
So what now? The question comes, like, what would you say is struggles that you're currently dealing with, and maybe fears that you want to share, like maybe general about music or your musical world, or maybe something that you currently are struggling
yeah,
with.
yeah, for sure. So I think yeah, at any given time, like for any artist, um, I would say there's definitely things to struggle with, because being creative inherently means taking risks, and
For sure, yeah.
You know, especially like you said, right, when you're putting things out, like how it's received can really affect how you think about yourself and your self-worth. Um, I would say some of my main struggles right now is how do I um, how do I build something that stands out, but also is me, but also is timeless, but also is grounded. Um, so there's all these sort of pushes and pulls in various directions of like, if I want to make a living off of music, I mean, maybe the easiest way is just to go viral for like controversial reasons and make TikTok songs. Um, but then like, why do I want to make a living from music in the first place? Well, it's because I want to pour my life energy into this thing where, um, I want it to be an expression of my soul, an expression of everything that I stand for. And so there's that constant tug of war there. And then I think there's also the question about timing of things like career, life stages. Um, I would say a lot of people say that, age doesn't matter. Age is just a number. And I think that that mindset can really help. And I do have that mindset most of the time, but I also am cognizant of the fact that like there's various stages in life where it's easier to take risk. And there's nothing wrong with being in a stage of life where you don't feel like you want to take as much risk as well. I think people kind of there's a bit of that hustle culture, especially in the United States, where it's like, oh, like if you're this age, like you shouldn't care about, your responsibilities. Just go pursue your dreams. But I think there is merit in giving up your dreams as well, for something that, you don't want to let go of. So for me, like I definitely like value having a family, having a stability. And if I can't achieve that with music, then I'm happy to just keep creating music in a way that I currently do. But then there's that tug of war too of like, how can you be obsessed with something and detached from it at the same time? So I constantly struggle with that, I think. And I feel like a lot of artists do as well. Even when they're successful, like I see a lot of artists, they talk about like, oh, but now I feel like I'm making music for my fans and I'm not able to focus on what I actually want to create. Um, so I think at any point in an artist's life, there's always going to be struggles. Um, I think what's important is to not have victim mentality. So for me, I try to get out of this mind space of like, this is because I never was told that I could do music for a living as a kid. So now I'm like so late into the game, or like, this is because I never got to talk to this producer who told me like how to actually make it in the industry. Um, yeah, I think taking ownership of whatever position you're in, acknowledging your struggles, and trying to balance um, things moving forward is like the way that I try to navigate through these struggles.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I can so much relate to this.
Mm.
And I feel that you're right. I mean, it is like being detached from it and also like being very much obsessed with it. To me, it always feels like, because in my day job, I don't have much time to make music, or I don't make much time to make music, which I find really sad, because then there's this exactly what you're talking about. I'm detached from it, so like as in a way, but then there is like this almost like a volcano, like it builds up, like all these ideas and all these thoughts and all these like energetic, creative outbursts, like
Yeah.
they build up, and then it has to go out. Like it's almost like I'm all over the place, and then I have to like open Logic, and I have to start like sitting down on piano, like improvising something that feels good for me, and then
Yeah.
I'm so obsessed with it that I lose time, and I'm in a tunnel, and I'm making music for like 1 week, and my wife's asking me like, why am I not sleeping anymore, and come to bed before 3 o'clock, and all of these things. But
Yeah.
it has to go out,
Yeah.
I must do this now. It's almost
Yeah.
like I cannot hold back. And then
Yeah.
it's calming down a bit, but I actually don't like this cycle for me personally because it
Mhm.
feels like because then I'm exhausted. Like after a
Sure.
week of basically not sleeping much and making so much music, it
Yeah.
feels like, oh my god, now I'm actually I don't like doing it now
Mm.
because it's too much. You know, it's
Yeah.
you're sleep deprived and you know how much it would take to like to finish the song and then
Mm.
it stays an idea and it's not a song and yeah, all of these things that musicians probably can relate to.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I had like a lot of melody ideas last night, so it's tough for me to sleep. So can definitely
Do you
relate.
do you record them?
I think a lot of ideas, yeah, my voice memos is pretty full. And then I also write down notes about like production ideas I might have, genres that I might want to mix, things like that, especially when I can't sleep.
Yeah, I feel that. So how is it with you? I mean, you seem to be very steadily like normally doing music like regularly.
Mhm.
Do you still have this what I feel like or this volcanic almost like it erupts? Do you
Mm.
have this or is it different for you?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I think I'll answer this first by kind of going back to when I first started producing in college. So that experience was like a volcanic eruption for me. Maybe like a couple of small spurts and then like, and it was because I went through my first breakup, and that was around the time where I discovered like producing and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to write a bunch of songs. Like I have so much emotion and I want
Yeah.
some sort of outlet for that. I just want,
I mean,
something
breakups
to,
breakups are horrible, but it's
yeah.
it really works for musicians,
Just look
right?
at Taylor Swift, right? Yeah. But yeah, that was an experience where it was like I really need to do something. Like I also went to the gym. I didn't know proper gym technique, so I sprained my neck. But um, music is one of those things that uh, can just be a great outlet for creative expression, and especially if you feel like you've been creatively bottled up. Like I can see how that can feel like a volcanic eruption, and I have experienced that before. Um, and I think nowadays I think of it more as a faucet. Um, so I think over time I've built technology mentally to turn that volcano into something that has like valves, and you can kind of twist it a little bit. And
Mm,
then if you're
mm.
like, okay, I don't have time, let's just turn it off for a bit. And it's still building, but it's like you can kind of turn it on whenever you want. Is kind of the feeling that I
That's
have
great.
nowadays.
Yeah.
Um, and I mainly got this idea from Rick Rubin's book. I think it was called The Act of Creativity, or The Art of. I
Mm.
just remember there's a circle on the book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But Rick Rubin talks about this concept of like when you come up with a song idea, it's not coming out of you, but you're receiving it from this eternal source.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that
I think that's
concept,
true. I think
it's
that's true.
very, yeah, it's very much echoed in a lot of the lessons that were taught, I think, at the Jacob Collier retreat too, where it's like, um, as long as you open yourself up, you can receive these ideas. And I think the comforting thing that Rick Rubin offers in that insight is that they're always there. It's like a tree that grows peaches, and you can always be there to pick the peach. And then the dark side of, not the dark side, but like the more, it's like alarming side of that is like other people can pick the peach as well. Like for example, I wrote a song like 3 years ago about suburb life because I've lived in suburbs all my life. And then last week, I saw this artist that I really liked. I think Rule from Australia. He released a song about being in the suburbs with the love of his life, and it was exactly the same idea. Obviously, completely different song, but um, it's just an example of how like ideas are so cheap, but in a great way, because it's more about how you interpret the idea, and if you're able to kind of like experiment with, okay, today maybe there's some things bottling up, but let me just, tweak the faucet a little bit and see what comes in. And then I can turn it off, but it'll always be there. And then in other times where it's like maybe nothing's coming out and I hate this creative process, can I still just turn it on and see if anything pops out? It can be shit water, it can be whatever. But yeah, just doing that exercise for me has helped kind of take the emotional cycles out of letting yourself be open to ideas. And then it allows me to focus the emotion on the songwriting itself. Sorry if I'm rambling on too much, but yeah, I
Oh
think that's how
no,
I think
no,
of it.
I feel that's so. I can relate very much to this. I mean also, I think you're more disciplined with this, like being able to handle your faucets well and like the pressure
uh,
to release it better. I think that's very good, and I think that's healthy. I mean, I don't think what I'm doing is healthy, but yeah,
Healthy is subjective, but yeah, it's hard to say.
yeah. I think again, there's so many directions to go to, but
Mm.
how do you feel? I'm just changing the topic now. How do you feel about ideas? I mean, you say your voice memos are quite elaborate and full,
Mhm.
and actually doing songs and actually finishing songs. Like, what is this process for you? How do you feel about it? Because I feel that most, from what I can gather so far,
Mm.
it. So you said like the idea is cheap,
Yeah.
like it's there,
Mhm.
and to me it feels like it's creativity always it always offers itself, and the question is, can we listen? Like, are we detached, or are we actually in the receptive mode that we can listen to it?
Mhm.
But I feel the work that actually differentiates musicians is the execution, right?
Mm. Mm.
I mean, so how do you feel about this execution part, especially finishing songs? I mean, that's in the end what you put out into the world, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think people have this myth that making a song is this magical process that involves like inspiration and being in tune with like the universe, and that's it. But no, most of it is like, as much grunt work as you would expect at like, say, a coding job or an admin job. Like, I spend a lot of time just going around and, dampening like the sounds of my S's, because my S's are really sharp, as you can maybe tell. Um, or like, if I have timing errors, like I'll be moving blocks for like hours at a time. Um, so yeah, I definitely do think execution is the the key that is stopping a lot of artists from being able to express themselves. And I think the way that I think about you know the progression of a song from an idea to a finished sort of thing that other people can digest is it's a funnel for me, and I could see how doing more of it results in people becoming more successful, not just because they're learning and they're grasping how to do things better and better, but also because I think the more you like execute, the more you figure out what your like voice is, or like what your creative direction is. Like, you start finding patterns where it's like, okay, I really like putting reverb on my voice in verse 2. Just a random example. That could lead to artistic decisions that no one else would make, that now you're intentional about, and you can build your song um, on top of that foundation, where it's like, okay, my verse 2s are always going to be this like washy mess. um, and so I'm all about getting the reps in, so that I can make something that no one else has made before in a way that is creatively fulfilling to me. I don't feel like I'm there. I also feel like I'll never really get there, but I think about finishing songs as reps in order to develop that artistic identity. And so there is creativity in that, but there's also a lot of grunt work where it's like, okay, you're doing things that, might not be inspiring in the moment, but when you sum it all up, it's really making you who you are artistically.
And do you make a distinction between finishing, maybe also not releasing, or is it finished and you release it, or do you test it maybe, I don't know, on Instagram, see the feedback, and then like,
Yeah.
because I feel that, I mean, let's take Prince as an example. I mean, he's of course a crazy example for that, but
Yeah.
it's rumored that there is like over 1,000 unreleased songs from him in the vault. And I mean, he's already done, I don't know how many albums. I think 17 or 20 or I didn't know. Like, it's just a number that it feels like he's already done 20 albums. How much intentional do you think about maybe just testing a song or finishing a song versus releasing it actually?
Yeah. So I would say like every artist has their line and their like way of doing things in terms of how much music they show to the world. A counterexample to Prince maybe is actually Loewe again. I think she mentioned in her interviews that like she generally tries to release, or I don't know if try is the right word, but she said that she like releases everything that she writes. And it's just kind of like, for her, it represents like, her artistic self, like anything that she writes. And so um, her goal is to just make it really good, whatever she writes. Um, and then there's other people who, for an album, they might write 3 albums and then just pick the top 12 songs out of those 3 albums and then condense it into
Yeah,
one.
I know that's what they did with Off the Wall from Michael Jackson with the album.
Got it.
I think they had 50 or 60 tracks, and they chose, I think it's 16 or something from them. Yeah, yeah.
I see. Yeah. So every artist is different. For me personally, I've experimented with a TikTok challenge that I did in 2023. Yeah. Where I wrote 100 songs in 100 days, and I recorded a snippet of each song and posted it for the 100
Wow.
days.
Wow.
And it was a great exercise. I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned is I didn't really like showing like just a piece of a song that was unfinished, unproduced, and then seeing how people would judge that piece of the song, and then moving on. So personally, where I draw the line is like I only want to like show people songs that I've like fully realized the vision for. So that would probably be like fully produced, or um, just like all the sections are written out. Like they have access to the full song if they want to hear it. Of course, sometimes there may be exceptions for that. Like, let's say I'm performing something live and I have like pretty much a song figured out and I just want to give my live audience a special treat. I'd definitely be open to performing that, even if the production is not finished. But yeah, I think there's been a narrative in the indie artist space where like instead of just like making full songs, you could just test, make choruses and test the choruses. And if a chorus works, then make the whole song out of that and drop it right away. And that works for some people, which is great. And just for me, it's like, it's kind of, to me, it's kind of synonymous with like, make a bunch of action scenes in a movie, right? It's like Marvel, the Avengers, like the Hulk versus, alien army scene, or like make a kung fu fighting scene and then test those scenes and see which scene gets the most like views or like engagement, and then make a movie based on that scene. So for me, that isn't like something that I'm super inspired by, which I've kind of tried in the past. So I do try to like finish whole songs before I release them. And then the process by which I choose the songs are partial, like it's pretty much 60-40, like 60% it's influenced by like what I personally just want to release and what I think fits my narrative of my growth. And then the other 40% is like some of the feedback that I get from my previous songs as full songs, not just as like, oh, this chorus slaps. Like I'd get feedback from people saying, your songs make me think of rain, or that outro was my favorite part because everything I heard before that like just led to that perfect ending for me. So like feedback like that I think is really helpful for me versus like, oh yeah, I love the melody of that chorus, or like, dude, I love the topic of this song, which is cool feedback too, but I do like kind of finishing things and presenting them before, you know.
Yeah, I mean that very much. It fits very much with what you're saying with the cinematic home, right? As well. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it sounds very very good. So yeah, I think I'm not going to waste any more of your time.
No, this has been so fun.
Yeah,
It's great
and
chatting with you.
I have to say thank you so much because I mean you actually are the reason why this podcast is
Oh.
happening because
Dude.
we were I mean just to tell the story for a second, we were in Hideaway and you came to me and said, do you do a podcast? Like you should do a podcast. And I was a bit like taken back, and I've thought about what, like I already do a podcast but it's in German and it's a completely different topic.
Oh,
And
cool.
you said no, do it about music, and it really stayed with me, like it because I feel that the talks that people had in the Hideaway retreat, they were so inspiring and so so deep and connective. Is that a word, connective?
Yeah, connective, probably.
Yeah, connecting people, like connecting with each other on an emotional level, deeper level. And I feel that I want to stay in that space as well, like
Yeah.
I
Oh,
want to
totally
be there
feel.
as well and talk about creativity. And so yeah, so thank you for inspiring me to start with you as well, and to say yes to being a guest.
Of course, I'm so happy to, so honored to be your first guest, and thank you
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much for inviting me. I had such a pleasure like hanging out with you at the retreat, and I think that you're one of the most like passionate people that I know about music. And I think
Thanks.
you have such a
Thanks.
like a unclouded like love for music, and such a voice that I think it goes beyond music itself, right? It's just like the way that you express your opinions and you express yourself. um you're just so genuine, and I really appreciate that about you, and I think that like that is a perfect quality to have as someone who's inquisitive about other people's creative processes and can also relate on his own. So yeah, I'm super excited to see where this podcast goes, and everything that you do in the future as well. And yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. I mean, these words, it's almost like I feel ashamed now.
Oh
Like
no.
they go so deep, like they resonate so deeply that it's almost like, oh my God, it's too much. But thank you very much. I mean, I appreciate it. And but yeah, I really want to ask the last question. Like, where can people find you? Like, if they want to find a cinematic home. I mean, it's intriguing, right? Where can
Wow.
people find you?
Yeah.
Maybe socials, maybe Spotify. Like,
Sure.
where should we
Yeah.
go?
So I mainly post on Instagram and TikTok. So my handle is Joyang Music. So that's Joyang Music. So you can find me there. I'm pretty active on Instagram, I would say. So if you ever want to like chat about anything or be like, hey, I feel this way too, I struggle with this too, I'm happy to chat there. And then on Spotify, I'm simply Joyang. So Joyang, and you can find all my songs there. So yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Philip.
Thank you very much, Joe.
It was a really fun
Okay.
chat.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.